Hi, everybody, and welcome to Spa Babies, presented by Spendthrift. I'm Dan Illman, along with Nicole Russo, and we'll kick off Friday's card at Saratoga and the early pick 5 with our Spa Baby race. 5.5 furlongs on the turf, maiden special weight for 2-year-olds, colts. Let's take a look at this field, and I think it's fair to say there's a strong international flavor in this race.
Absolutely. Not only do you have a lot of international pedigrees in here, which we'll get a bit into, but we're going to see an exciting runner coming over for Joseph O'Brien, the very talented young trainer who has a dedicated string at Saratoga for the first time this summer, going up against trainers like Wesley Ward, Todd Pletcher, sort of the usual suspects in these 2-year-old races. I think this makes it a really fascinating race to analyze.
4 of the 8 horses entered for turf. The 1A, Bat Flip, the 9, Rarifier entered main track only. 4 of the 8 were bred overseas. We've got some auction information that won't be available in the paper because they were sold overseas. So stay tuned. The number 1 Clubhouse was bred in the United States. A very strong pedigree by Speightstown, a $425,000 yearling. The Dam won on turf. She's a half to the Fleet Juvenile Grade 3 stakes winning sprinter Cazadero. It's a Todd Pletcher first-time starter. Usually they are live. It's interesting that this one's going to debut on the turf. The second Dam, Wild Gams, was a very good sprinter on the main track.
Yeah, but Speightstown's such a versatile sire, and this one got to work on turf locally at Saratoga on the training track, and then Pletcher places him here instead of one of the multitude of other 2-year-old opportunities available at the meet. So I'm definitely taking note of that move for a very good 2-year-old trainer and a very good Saratoga trainer and Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher.
Really is curious to see what our team of clockers have to say in the DRF Clocker report about Clubhouse. I got a chance to look at his workout out of the gate 2 starts back. He went in company with an unnamed Curlin Colton. He showed really good speed. I mean, he had that other horse in trouble after the first quarter mile, but the second quarter mile, the other horse ran right by him. So I'm curious to see what we get from Clubhouse. I think he'll have some early ability. The 2 is Wico, one of 2 in here for trainer Wesley Ward. Let's watch the debut at Keeneland. This horse ran very, very well. An odds-on favorite, no surprise. It's a Wesley Ward trained first-time starter. Broke a bit slow, mid-moved into contention. I thought ran very well to be third.
Absolutely. And it was a good third for Wico. And what's coming back is a very good race. The winner, the aptly named and the winner is, ran a good third in the Bashford Manor at Churchill on what might not be that one's preferred surface. The runner-up, Cadillac Canby, came back to break his maiden next out. And at least 2 other horses out of that race, Bourbon Therapy and Roman Giant, are now winners. This one's a half to Her World, who at one point last year was considered one of Wesley Ward's best 2-year-olds. That one by another son of Scat Daddy and Caravaggio. So Wico by the very good No Name Never, bred on the same cross.
$440,000 yearling, tons of turf and class in this pedigree, as well as speed. And with a better start, I'm expecting this horse to be a lot closer to the pace under Jose Ortiz. The 3 is Ward's, quote, other horse, Alibi Ike, and it's hard to consider this horse an other horse considering the pedigree. He's by Munnings out of a half-sister to Echo Zulu.
Yeah, and not only Echo Zulu, such a good 2-year-old last year, obviously, but the family of Grade 1 winning sprinter Echo Town. Very interesting that this one is the quote-unquote other Ward, but I read Ortiz rode both of these on debut at Keeneland and sticks with Alibi Ike here. This was bothered at the start of his dirt debut. Looks like they're kind of hitting the reset button here.
Lots of excuses for that debut, Nicole. You're absolutely right. Didn't have the greatest trip, and also it was over a wet track, so there were a lot of things perhaps working against this horse. Again, check out the Clocker report because this horse has been breezing on turf, and it looks like that July 11th breeze went in company with Margaret Burbage, who was a Wesley Ward-trained first-time starter in our Thursday Spa Baby race. I think the horse they're all going to have to beat is the 4 Alexis Zorba, who is shipping in overseas for trainer Joseph O'Brien, and as you can see, this horse sold for a lot of money, $442,000 as a yearling. The Dam is a half-sister to Gorella, who is an excellent Grade 1 stakes winner. I believe won the Beverly D. And this horse faced Little Big Bear last time out. That horse has come back to win his next 2 starts, including a Group 3 in Ireland.
Yeah, and this one, second in both starts, of his career thus far, and second to two next out winners, including Little Big Bear. So coming in with some obvious experience, an obvious good experience in Europe for Joseph O'Brien. Johnny Velasquez picks up the mount, as we said, as O'Brien looks to kick off a very good summer here.
Number 5 is Dataman. This is a son of the sensational stallion Tappet, a first-time starter for trainer Graham Motion. And again, Graham will take his time with these horses, often gives them a race or two before they show their best. Dataman is a very strong turf pedigree, as you can see.
A very strong turf pedigree, and Tappet is a versatile enough stallion to get turf runners. We think of him more as a classic type sire, but he's had very good runners like Tappet's Fly and others. I would prefer to see Dataman going longer, especially with Tappet on top. But look at these recent works at Fair Hill at trainer Graham Motion's base. Some very sharp works down there for Dataman, and might show some ability on debut.
A lot of turf ability in this pedigree. Personally, I want to see maybe a little bit more distance for this one. I'm going to take a wait and see approach in this turf sprint on Friday. The 6 is Appraise, bred in Ireland, a son of Kodiak, going out for trainer Chad Brown, a $256,000 yearling overseas. Just lots of stakes winning turf horses in Europe in this female family. And it's a European turf family for Chad Brown. It's interesting that this one's been based at Monmouth.
Very interesting, but Chad Brown has started to have a good presence there in recent months, kind of juggling. It's interesting how trainers juggle their horses around, especially those with big strings. And I have to believe that if this horse has been based elsewhere and Chad's bringing him up here to debut, that there's a reason why. Kodiak, a very good 2-year-old European sire who injects some speed into that Danehill line.
The 7 is Inflation Nation, a very intriguing runner. This is a son of Speightstown who was purchased overseas for $82,000 and was pinhooked over here after breezing a furlong in a very quick 10 seconds flat, sold for $100,000. And as you can see, plenty of turf pedigree. The dam a half to the Grade 1 stakes winning Keeneland Turf Miler, Perfect Soul. Christophe Clement, excellent with first-time starters. Have to respect this horse.
Absolutely. And at that OBS April sale that this one breezed at, they do breeze on a synthetic surface, remember, showed that turn of speed on synthetic. A lot of stamina in the family of this broodmare by Galileo. I'm maybe going to circle this one because it's such a competitive race and you can't use everyone for down the line at the meet when we start getting some 2-turn turf races.
God's Glory, the number 8, is a first-time starter for trainer Jose Camejo, who's a high percentage out-of-town trainer by Collected. Let's talk a little bit about Collected. He was a very game, hearty horse on the main track, certainly capable on the turf as well by City Zip. I'm expecting his progeny to be effective on both surfaces.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what Collected ultimately does as a sire. This his first crop. I think he was best known for his route wins on the dirt. I think the Pacific Classic over Arrogate and very game performance. But as he said, he's by City Zip, and City Zip could sire a little bit of everything, going long, going short, turf, dirt. And I think if that ability, that versatility ultimately comes through in Collected, who was just a hard-knocking racehorse, I think there's a lot to like about him as a stallion.
Lots of dirt in this female family, and I'm sure the connections were a little bit surprised when they entered and they saw all these beasts spread overseas with these tremendous turf pedigrees. Interesting to see what they get from God's Glory. Should have a little bit of early speed. Let's take a look at our top selections for the opening race at Saratoga on Friday. You're going with Wico, and understandably so. The horse has experience, did not have an easy trip in his debut, trained by Wesley Ward, just lots to like.
Yeah, and ultimately what put Wico over the edge for me was, as I said, sort of the perceived strength of that 2-year-old maiden at Keeneland with a lot of nice horses, including one stakes horse already coming out of there. I will use Clubhouse near the top of my selections. As I said, I think it's interesting that Todd Pletcher is placing this horse here. And the other Wesley Ward and the Joseph O'Brien trainee, kind of all of the obvious horses here. But ultimately, I did like the experience that Wico got in that very deep maiden field.
I won't be surprised at all if the 4 Alexis Zorba takes a ton of money and then puts on a show in his debut, considering the ability he showed in his 2 starts overseas, the quality of competition he ran against, and the fact that he wasn't a typical European horse coming out of the gate in that last race. He broke very sharp, put himself on the lead, had the lead with a quarter of a mile to run, and then was run down by that very sharp horse. But I'm, like you, intrigued by Clubhouse, curious to see what he does on turf, expect him to be a decent price, expect a little bit of speed, but I'm going to focus on those 2 horses in the kickoff leg of the 50 cent early pick 5 on Friday. It's our Spa Baby race presented by Spendthrift.